Hello and welcome to Chronicle Live's Facebook Live ahead of tomorrow's clash with Tranmere Rovers in the Carabao Cup. I'll have to apologise for that technical difficulty that we just had on the last stream. Hopefully you can all hear me this time around. Just over 24 hours before kick-off tomorrow on Merseyside as Newcastle kickstart their Carabao Cup campaign. Eddie Howe will be hoping to keep this good form up that we've seen so far this season against a team that could prove quite tricky at home. Let's start with Tranmere then. A League Two side haven't started the season in the best of form, currently 17th in the table with 1 win, 1 draw and 3 defeats in the league so far. It's sort of an underwhelming start to the season given that they finished 9th in the division last term. They very, very narrowly missed out on promotion or a place in the playoffs. At least they were just 2 points off a place in the League Two playoffs last year. So they'll be a dangerous opponent. Eddie Howe will want no slip-ups, as we saw, on 2 occasions last season. Once against Burnley at this stage of the competition around 12 months ago, and of course that famous Cambridge defeat at St James's Park earlier this year. Eddie Howe sort of made clear in his press conference this morning that he's taking this competition very, very seriously. And he's personally got ambitions of lifting a cup with Newcastle, and this does feel like quite a good starting point. Eddie Howe also spoke about the changes that he was set to make tomorrow. Obviously, we've seen quite a similar team in the Premier League so far this season. He's only really made changes at the back when he's had to with Matt Targett dropping out through injury. We're expecting to see quite a few changes tomorrow. Mainly because, we know that there's been some injuries picked up against Manchester City, but also because Howe will want to give a chance to a couple of fringe players tomorrow. I'll be very, very interested to know who you guys think should be starting tomorrow in Tranmere. So please do let me know in the comments who you'd like to see play. Let's start with Callum Wilson then and his injury. We saw him come off with about 20 minutes to go in that game on Sunday. We weren't too sure as to whether it was sort of a tactical decision from Eddie Howe or whether, Wilson had picked up a knock. He didn't really look to be injured in that second half. But when we asked Eddie Howe about it in the post-match press conference, he did admit that Wilson had been feeling his hamstring at half-time. They gave him 20 minutes in the second half and, Wilson sort of wasn't as sharp as they thought he could be. They've taken him off as a precaution. And Eddie Howe did give an update this morning that Wilson will undergo a scan, which is pretty normal procedure. And he's got his fingers crossed that it isn't too serious for Wilson. Obviously, we're all hoping that it's just a little knock and he won't be out too long, but it's very, very worrying to see that we're only 3 games into the season and Wilson's already sort of picking up knocks, which we were all worried about across the summer. And it really does reinforce why Newcastle need another striker in before the end of the window. Wilson's loss is obviously Chris Wood's gain. He'll be really, really dying to get out there and impress tomorrow. It's likely he's going to start from the outset. Big game for him. He came off the bench against Manchester City on Sunday, and I thought he did quite well. He put himself about. He made it sort of a difficult afternoon in the short period of time that he was on the pitch for City's defenders. But tomorrow, he's really got to take his chance. Hopefully he can get a few goals to try and, build that confidence that we're just dying to see from him, really, because we all know it hasn't really worked out so far with him. We expect Wood to start from the outset. Obviously, João Pedro is a name that continues to be mentioned. It's looking likely that Newcastle are going to get that player over the line. So that's even more added incentive for Chris Wood to make sure, he sort of puts his name in there. And makes Eddie Howe aware that he can't do the job when Wilson isn't fit. Another injury that seems to be picked up on Sunday was Ryan Fraser. We know that he missed the Brighton game through picking up back spasms. He recovered from that and then picked up a little knock in the injury, a little injury in the warm-up against Manchester City on Sunday. It looks like he felt his groin before kickoff and obviously wasn't used off the bench in that 3-3 draw. Ryan Fraser is also going to undergo a scan this week, which, as I said, with Wilson is pretty standard procedure. Eddie Howe again hoping that's not too serious. look, I think even if Ryan Fraser was fit, he wouldn't be getting in that team over Miggy at present. But tomorrow probably would have been a game that Fraser would have liked to have started in to get him some minutes. That won't be the case now. And it's like that it'll be Almiron or even Jacob Murphy in that position instead. At the back, Dan Burn, who was filled in for Matt Targett in recent games, he had another blinder of a game on Sunday, as we saw against Brighton as well. He looks like he will miss tomorrow's game. Eddie Howe is not going to risk him after it looks like he suffered a possible concussion or at least a blow to the head in the final stages on Sunday. Obviously, we know that Sven Botman was clearly trying to do his best Laurent Robert impression by knocking Dan Burn to the ground. So, no Dan Burn tomorrow. Big questions, as Roger Cook has just asked there, as to who plays left back. Us Chronicle writers have got together today and discussed it, and there'll be a piece up in the morning where you can read our thoughts as to who will play. And there's a lot of names being thrown into that position. Some people want to see Paul Dummett play. Some people want to see Matt Ritchie. Some are hoping that Jamal Lewis is fit enough to play there. So very interesting to see who Howe goes with. Of course, he's got the likes of Matty Bondswell as well, who played very well in pre-season, who could always be given a go from the outset. If it was up to me, I think I'd probably like to see Ritchie play there. He's done all right so far this season. I know a lot of people say that his legs are gone, but I think the way he reads the game and sort of the passion and commitment that he gives this team will be quite crucial in a game where, we might see some inexperienced players on the pitch. So we've talked about who will miss out. We're now going to talk about who could come in. And I think the big clamour among fans is to see Elliot Anderson play. So good in pre-season, really one of the standout performers for Newcastle, and it's been quite a surprise to see that he hasn't actually been given any Premier League minutes so far this season. Obviously, we saw Eddie Howe use 5 substitutes against Nottingham Forest. Elliot Anderson wasn't one of them. You can sort of understand why he hasn't been used in those games at Brighton and Manchester City when the games have been very tight and sort of on a knife edge when Eddie Howe's been making those changes. But speaking about Anderson this morning in his press conference, Howe said that he's chomping at the bit to be given some minutes in the first team. So it's likely that we're going to see him from the outset. It's a big week for Elliot Anderson because we all thought he was going to go out on loan. He played so well in pre-season. It now looks like he's going to stay. But if he isn't going to be used, should he be loaned out? I think the consensus among fans is that we don't just want to see him stagnate on the bench. And I think a loan move probably is going to suit him best if Eddie Howe doesn't want to trust him in Premier League games. Tomorrow's game is a big one for Anderson. Either he impresses and sort of works his way in Eddie Howe's side, or we see him, sort of put himself in that shop window once more for a championship loan move in the next 7 days. Two kind of phrase there, asking if we could see a 2 Longstaff midfield with Anderson. Matty Longstaff, we know, is probably one that's going to go out on loan. Whether he starts tomorrow, I'm not so sure. I think Sean Longstaff definitely plays. He's had to settle for 2 or 3 substitute appearances off the bench so far this season. He will really want to play at least 70 minutes tomorrow to 1, get his fitness up, and 2, prove that he can really challenge Joe Willock for that sort of 3rd midfield spot that Newcastle have got up for grabs. So definitely Sean Longstaff, I think we'll see. Matty, it's up for debate whether he will play. We haven't really seen him this season so far, and I think we do expect him to go out on loan in the next couple of days. Jamal Sells is another that we'll likely see play tomorrow. Of course, you sort of feel for Jamal Sells. He's sort of the forgotten man. You've got Fabian Schär, Dan Burn and Sven Botman all playing so well at the moment. It does feel like Jamal Sells is going to have to really need a bit of luck to get back into this team. Eddie Howe spoke about him in the pre-match press conference and said that Jamal Sells has been nothing but a leader off the pitch. He's been fantastic in training and pre-season, even though he's lost his place in the team. Of course, Howe didn't want to take the captaincy off him, which I think was just quite a smart decision, given what Lascelles gives to the club, what he brings to the dressing room. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him line up probably alongside Sven Botman tomorrow, if not Fabian Schär. A lot of people in the comments asking for Anderson. I think I think he's the one that fans want to see most tomorrow. I'm certainly in that camp of I'd really, really like to see him given a go. The last time we saw him was against Atalanta in a pre-season friendly, and to me, he was the best player on the pitch. Now he needs to prove that he can do it in the Premier League. But of course, he'll know all about Tranmere, having played them last season with Bristol Rovers while he was on loan there. So I think we will see Anderson tomorrow. In terms of the cup itself, it's so refreshing to see that Newcastle are going to actually go into this competition not actively trying to lose. We know that under the previous regime, cups were a complete waste of time in Mike Ashley's eyes, and they weren't worth the money that the fans saw it as. Now we know that Eddie Howe and the ownership really, really do sort of want a cup run this year or in the next couple of seasons. And even though we expect big changes, Eddie Howe is really, really desperate to go far in this competition. I think it was quite refreshing actually to see him come out this morning and talk, very, very openly about dreaming of winning a cup at Newcastle. It's really, really ambitious, but it's exactly what fans want to hear. So yeah, really, really good on Eddie Howe's behalf. As we said, we'll know more this time tomorrow. We'll probably be hearing sort of whispers about the team, and obviously in a couple of hours' time, we will have kick-off at Prenton Park. We'll be there, as always, covering the game. We'll have a live blog on site. We'll also have the match report, the player ratings, and all the analysis after. So please do tune in to Chronicle Live tomorrow night. We'll also have a post-match podcast with Lee Ryder reviewing the game, hopefully talking about a fantastic win on the road. As always, you can keep up to date with everything going on with Newcastle on our site and on our social media, and we'll speak to you very, very soon.